We are now going to be having 12 shiurim on 12 perakim. These are the 12 perakim of the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and I think it's very important before Pesach to get to know these 12 perakim. Now, there's stories and there's medrash and there's teachings from the Gemara that has been gotten around. To know the full story from beginning to end, what the Torah says, what we can learn from the actual psukim, and what actually happened as the Torah says it, I think is very, very important, and that's the purpose of this share. So let's dig in. This is the fifth share. This is perakim. This one is going to be a little bit shorter than the rest of them. It goes fast. There's a lot of repeating psukim, and we'll discuss that. V'yachar, ba'u Moshe v'Aaron. After Moshe and Aaron came, and they said to Paroi, Ko Yomar Hashem. This is what Hashem said, Elokei Yisrael, the God of Yisrael. Shalach asami, send my nation, v'yachoigu li b'midbar, and they shall have a holiday to me in the midbar. Just so we are clear, is that the request was not let my people go. It's one of the biggest misnomers in translating the Torah is let my people go. Moshe Rabbeinu did not ask for freedom. Moshe Rabbeinu only asked that they go to the midbar, to the desert, so that they could worship Hashem, not that they should go free. And yet, still it took all the oisais and moisim, the signs and wonders, still it took 10 makos for Paroi to let Bnei Yisrael go, 10 plagues to let them go. So, it's interesting, and that's what I want people to keep in mind. Whenever Paroi said, Mi Hashem, who is Hashem? Asher Eshma B'koiloi. I should listen to this God I never heard of, some desert God that I never heard of, the Shalach as Yisrael, to send Yisrael. He calls them Yisrael, the nation. He doesn't call them Ivrim. Usually he refers to them as the Ivrim. But now he's calling them Yisrael because he's reflecting on Moshe Rabbeinu who said, send out his nation, Yisrael. Lo yadati es Hashem, I don't know Hashem. The Gam is Yisrael, lo yashalech. And also Yisrael, I am not going to send out. Now you're trying to differentiate yourself, not just Hebrews, but you're Yisrael of the Hebrews, and you want you to go out to have a festival to your God. I don't know your God, so I'm not sending you out. And by the way, I'm not sending out Yisrael. I mean, even if I knew who your God was, I'm still not sending him out. V'emeru, and they said, Elokei Ivrim, the God of the Ivrim, Nikra Leinu, happened upon us. Neilcha, na, derech shloishes yamim, let us go for 3 days, but b'midbar, in the midbar, v'nizvcha, el Hashem Elokeinu, and we will sacrifice to Hashem our God. Pen yivka enu, lest he will put upon us, and he will punish us with bedever oy becharev, with pestilence or with death, with the sword. We fear our God, and we have not worshipped him all this time that we have been in Mitzrayim. And actually, by the way, you know why we have not really worshipped him, because originally when Bnei Yisrael came down to Mitzrayim to live in Goshen, they were separated from Mitzrayim. Why? Because they were shepherds, and that was abomination to the Egyptians for 2 reasons. Number one is they had a rammed head god. There is one of their deities that has a rammed head, so therefore all flock and cattle really remind them of that, and that's an abomination. But also, what reminded them and to be an abomination is that for the most part, Egyptians were vegetarian. And if Bnei Yisrael were shepherds and they primarily ate meat, that was an abomination. So therefore they said, we can't make sacrifices of animals to our God here in Mitzrayim. We need to go out to the desert to worship him there in the desert. And that's where I guess the connotation came that he's a desert God. It doesn't say that in the Torah, but apparently Paro's understanding was he's not a God that lived in Mitzrayim. Vayomer Aleihem Melech Mitzrayim. So the Melech Mitzrayim had said to them, Moshe Rabbeinu had first gone to Melech Mitzrayim when they went to him with this request. And he said, Lama Moshe v'Aaron, why Moshe and Aaron? Tafriyu esa'am ma'asav, I can disturb the nation from their work. Lechu, l'savloisehem, and they should go from their burdens. What are you doing? Why are you disturbing them? And ultimately, obviously said no. So Moshe Rabbeinu returned to Midian. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu return to Mitzrayim, which he did. And on the way, of course, he had the encounter at the Malone. And that's when Hashem finished the instructions. And Aaron met him in the Midbar near Har Sinai. And again, and then Aaron again met him when he came back the second time to Mitzrayim, and they went to Parai. So what happened this time? That was when they went last time in the Melech Mitzrayim. But now they're talking to Parai. So the Torah says a little tangent. It says, by the way, now that he's asking about Parai, so now let me tell you what happened when he asked Melech Mitzrayim. That was a conversation I had with Melech Mitzrayim. When they asked Parai, and Parai said, I don't know who the God of the Yisraelim are, Parai said, Hein Rabim Ata Am Haaretz, but aren't the people so numerous and many in the land? The Hishbatim Oisam Usloisam. That now they can rest from their work. There's so many of them that they feel like that some people can work and they finish their work early and they don't need to all come to make bricks for Parai, for Mitzrayim. They don't need to do the civil service anymore. So Parai had a very similar answer to the Melech Mitzrayim, and Parai said the same thing. Obviously, you think there's so many that you could take a vacation, and that the work is done. So Vayitza Parai b'yamahu. So Parai is the one who ordered on that day, commanded, as Hanoikshim, the taskmasters, Ba'am of the nation, the Shoitrav, and the overseers, Lamer, saying, Loi Taisifun Losei 7. No longer give them straw to the nation, Lilboin Halavenim, for them to give their quota of bricks. Kitwell Shilshram, like it was in the days past. Heim Yelchu, they will have to go. The Kaishushu Lahem, and that they chop down for themselves. Teven, the straw. How do they make bricks with straw? Straw is not an ingredient in bricks. So the ancient Egyptians made bricks with straw for two reasons. One is they made bricks by drying mud in the sun. So the draw helped draw out the water. Draw thickened up the mud and helped draw out the water. And that helped the bricks dry faster. The second reason why they had straw in their bricks is because they built with those bricks. And adding straw into the mud actually made the bricks lighter. And with lighter construction, they were able to make much taller objects. We're looking at the objects that were made in ancient Egypt, not talking about the large pyramids, because that was made by the Babylonians, and that's a whole different share in and of itself. But when looking at the smaller pyramids and looking at the temples and looking at the castles and the palaces and other structures, the obelisks, so some of them were solid stone, but a lot of them that were made with bricks on the inside and then covered with stone on the outside or mortar on the outside, they were made with these bricks, and the lighter the bricks helped the construction go taller because it was lighter and it wouldn't crush the low levels. Yes, maskoines halavenim asherheim, but the count of bricks that they have, Isim Timal Shilshem, they should make like the past, Tashimu Alehem, and they shouldn't reduce. Loi Tigrai Menu, don't let them reduce in amount, don't have be any inferior quality of bricks, and also inferior number. Kinir for him, because they're lazy. Al Cain, therefore, Haim Tziakim Lamer, that's why they're crying to me, Nelcha, let us go, Nizbacha, Lalekenu, let's give sacrifices to our God. This is why they have so much time, so much idle, free time, that they're going to go ahead and ask me to go worship to their God. If they were actually working, they wouldn't have this time. So therefore, I don't think we need to provide them with the straw anymore. They have all this free time, and they're being so lazy, let them get the straw themselves. Tichbad, Havoida, let their Avoida be even heavier, Ala Noshim, on the people, Vyasuba, when they do it, Vyal Yishu b'divrei kosher, Shaker, and that will be the salvation from their sheker. That will be the salvation from their lies. The saying that they need to go to festival. Truth is, they don't need to go to festival. They just need a vacation. They want chavshi. They want a vacation. So to save them from this, we're going to make their tasks even harder and their burdens even harder on them. The Yetsu, and they went out, the Shoitrav, the taskmasters and the overseers, they went to the people saying, Koyama Parai. So said and decreed Parai, Teven, we're no longer going to give you straw. Atem Lachum, you are going to go. Kechul Lachem Teven, to go get your own straw. Me'asher Timtzau, wherever you can find it. Davar, and you should not reduce from any of your burdens, of your labors, anything, a minute amount, not quality or quantity. So the people went out over the whole entire country, Mitzrayim, Eretz Mitzrayim. They went out of Goshen, and they went out whole country Mitzrayim, to go get their straw for their to make their bricks. Hanoikchim Atzir Lemor, and the taskmasters pressured them, saying, Kalu Ma'asechem Dvar Yomi Yomai, that when you finish your work from day to day, Kasher Biyoi Sateven, there should be the same amount of bricks. By Yoiku Shoitre B'nai Yisrael, and they struck and attacked the Shoitre of the B'nai Yisrael, the overseers of B'nai Yisrael, meaning not the overseers that oversaw B'nai Yisrael, but B'nai Yisrael had to appoint themselves their own overseers. And this was taken out of that book by the Nazis. When the Nazis, during the Holocaust, when they went into all the different neighborhoods and cities and shtetls and that the Jews lived, and they put the Jews in ghettos, and they gathered up the Jews in two groups. They made the Jews have what's called the Judenrat, their own Jewish government, and they made the Jews have their own policemen, and made the Jews have their own council. They did that so that the Nazis could pressure this council and the Jewish policemen to do the dirty work. So Mitzrayim did the same exact thing. They had different levels of slaves, and before, when Moshe Rabbeinu went out amongst his brothers and he saw Ish Ivris, these were the overseers, the Ivri overseers over Bnei Yisrael, and that's who he met. So now the taskmasters and the overseers of Mitzrayim struck at the Bnei Yisrael overseers, the ones that were actually from Bnei Yisrael, the Ivrim, Asher Samu Alehem, that was placed upon them. Noikshe Pare Lemar, the taskmasters of Pare said, Madua, what is it that loy kilisem, that when they finish the work, Kakem Lilvine Kitmol Shoshaim, that they should make sure that their bricks should not be like in the days before, Gam Timol, Gam Hayim, just like the other day and just like today. For Yavayu Shoitre B'nai Yisrael, so B'nai Yisrael, the overseers of B'nai Yisrael came, Veitzaku El Pare Lemar, and they cry out to Pare saying, Lama tasek koila avdecha. Why are you doing this to us? Why do you make this decree? Teven ein nisen lavdecha. You're not giving straw anymore to your workers, to your workforce. Ulevenim and bricks, imrim lanu oisu, that we still have to make. The hine avdecha mukim, that we're going to be struck. The chata amecha, but your nation is the one that's going to sin. You're basically causing us to fail. You're setting us up to fail. Then you're going to strike at us, and it's going to be your own fault, and you can destroy your own workforce. What are you doing? V'yomer, so Pare said to them, Nirpim atam nirpim, you guys are lazy. Al kein atamayim. That's why you're saying Neilcha nizbechol Hashem. That's why you want to go ahead and have a sacrifice and serve your God. V'yata, now l'chu ivdu, go and labor and work. The tevin lo yinosein lachem, and straw is not going to be given to you. But you're still going to have to count and rely on the amount of tally of bricks. Vayiru, Shoitre B'nai Yisrael, and the Shoitre B'nai Yisrael, Aisam Bara Lemar, they saw that this is going to be very, very bad. Loi Tigru Milvenim Devar Yom Yom, that they cannot reduce the amount of bricks in the quality or quantity of their bricks from any day from previous. Therefore, Vayivka'u el Moshe Aaron, and therefore they approached and they stood upon Moshe and Aaron, Nitzavim Lekrasam, they stood opposite them, B'tzeisa Me'is Parai, when they went and left Paro's palace. Who's the one that left Paro's palace? It wasn't Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron that left Paro's palace, because they had left Paro's palace earlier. They had left, and then Pare made a decree and had to give it to the taskmasters and the overseers, and they had to then give it to the Ivri overseers. The overseers had to then complain to Pare. So they stood opposite Moshe when they themselves left Pare. Vayamru Alehem, and therefore the overseers of Bnei Yisrael said to them, Yera Hashem Aleichem v'yishbait. Hashem should see you and He should judge you. Asher He Hivashtem Esrachenu be'enei parai, that you have made our spirit so detestable to parai, ube'enei avadav, and the eyes of his courtesans and servants, loseis chereb b'yadam l'hargenu. Now you basically gave him an excuse to kill us. So it's interesting. What first was, I don't care about our workforce because I will kill the firstborn, firstborn male, regardless of what it's going to do to the workforce. Now they want the workforce to continue making bricks. So now we're talking about the workforce being productive, having to make a quota of bricks. And yet they're being set up to fail. So they realize we don't really need to make the same quota of bricks. We're just having now an excuse for us to fail. And when we fail to make our previous quota of bricks, Parai and his Avadav are going to see that we are worthless, that we can't do our quota of bricks like previous, that we're lazy, and therefore there really is no benefit in the workforce. Whereby we thought that work will set us free. They finally realized Arbeit macht frei was all sheker. So they realized that no matter what they did, they're really being set up to fail. And now that Moshe Rabbeinu went to Parai and said, please let them go out to serve Hashem, that now get a domino effect and basically now going to cause a destruction. So they wanted Hashem to judge, not necessarily to judge Moshe and Aaron. They don't say that Hashem will see and he will judge you. I says, Yera Hashem Aleichem, Hashem will see on you what you're doing. Hashem will judge. It could be, if you're doing exactly what Hashem told you to do, then obviously Hashem can't judge you poorly, because how can Hashem send you to Parai and then Hashem also judge you poorly for going to Parai? So therefore, if Hashem sent you, if indeed you are the people who had to go to Parai and Hashem sent you, okay, Hashem will then judge Parai. However, if you're making yourself leaders amongst us and you think you can just intervene and you think you can take the reins by the horns and you're going to do it yourself, then Hashem is going to judge you. That's what they're saying over here. Vayoshev Moshe el Hashem leimar. So Moshe Rabbeinu returned to Hashem saying, Adonai, Master, lama haresu la'am hazeh. Why have you made it worse for the nation? Lama zeh shalchatayni. Why did you send me? You convinced me that all I had to do was be your mouthpiece. But look, me being the mouthpiece has made it even worse. I thought I was going to be a mouthpiece because maybe I could relate to a pharaoh because I have Egyptian background in growing up in a pharaoh palace and being an Egyptian prince. But no, instead, it backfired. So why was it me that you sent? Ume'az. And from then, ba'asi el Parai l'daber bishmecha. But then it will come that I came to Parai to speak in your name. Hey ralo amazeh. It has gotten worse for this nation. B'hasel, and as far as you saving the nation, lo hitzalta esamecha. You have not saved your nation. The next parak has the answer, and then a little diversion, and then we're going to really get into the meat and potatoes of the Geula.